Let's talk about one of the hot new books of the season, Deep Cuts, the adaptation, and I'll do a full review of the book at the end. So I had a copy of Deep Cuts already when this news came out, and I was very gagged. This was a couple of weeks ago. You can see it's February 27th. They cast Saoirse Ronan and Austin Butler as the main characters in the book, which is kind of crazy. Percy and Joe meet in college in California. Percy is supposed to be like a little bit weird and a little bit awkward and a little bit curvy. I think obviously this is a case of adaptational attractiveness where they made her exceedingly beautiful. Their meet cute is them arguing about music. Percy is very intense. She has a lot of opinions. And Joe is a musician. Or the first roadblock is that he has a girlfriend, and the book sort of continues from there. They're locked in this like 10-year long psychological situationship with a lot of twists and turns. But this is a novel about music and ambition and art and like believing in yourself enough to create art, and like believing that you are worthy of occupying space in the world and like being a person in the world who is allowed to create. This is a little bit crazy to me only because they're like very, very, very A-list actors. And I'm not saying the book wasn't good. I liked it. I just am like a little bit surprised. Saoirse was last seen in The Outrun, a movie about addiction. There was Oscar buzz at the very, very beginning of 2024, but then as soon as it actually came out and no one saw it, we never heard about it again, RIP. Austin Butler obviously got incredibly famous a couple of years ago and has just been like riding the wave. Out of all of his movies, I actually have only ever seen Dune Part 2 and I hated it. So I am not qualified to speak on the charms of one Austin Butler, but like if I ever do a star studies on him, I think that there is something a little bit performative about him, obviously with the fake accent, right? Like I think he's suffering from a case of Leonardo DiCaprio syndrome where he like wants it so badly. Like he wants to be famous. He wants to be the most famous person in the world so badly that it's like a little bit jarring. I always say that I'm from New York. When people try too hard, it repels me. So like there's something about him that's like not for me, but I get why other people like him, right? He's like tall and handsome. Doing a full review of the book now, I liked it. I thought it was electric. I thought that the writing was very pithy. Holly Brickley has a native understanding of like rhythm and conversational ping-ponging, right? There's a lot of like very snappy conversations where people are like bantering back and forth. There is something very nostalgic about this book, not only because it takes place in 2000, the book goes from 2000 to 2009 or 10, but like the old school style of bantering, like proving that you're the most clever person to have ever lived through like witty repartee is like a very specific time capsule thing. I don't really see it in books a lot anymore. I see people trying it, but it's never good. That's all I'll say about that. But Holly Brickley did a very good job of that. I loved the setting. I love the way that it bounced around from California to LA to Miami to New York. There were a lot of like very, very lived in scenes. When I did my videos on like Gen Z trying to co-opt indie sleaze and like our culture, and I said, just because you saw something online doesn't mean that you like lived it. This is what I'm talking about. Like you can tell that Holly Brickley was there. It like brought me back to my own like teenagerhood of like going to shows and going to concerts and seeing like all of these musicians that I hadn't thought about in years. Like there is something so real and so raw and so lived in about the party scenes and like the club scenes in this book. So I really, really vibed with it. I think the first half of the book is very strong. I think the second half of the book is good. I absolutely hated the ending. I said it on Goodreads. I'm sorry. It didn't work for me. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but like it just didn't feel like the rest of the book. It felt like it was like focus grouped or workshopped and like tacked on. And I don't mean to scare you. I'm not saying that to scare you. The ending wasn't bad. I didn't like it. Those are two separate things. The ending will work for some people. It'll like transform it into a completely different book. It just wasn't where I thought the book was going, and therefore I was surprised by the ending. That's all I will say about that. But otherwise, I do recommend it. I think it's good. I think it's fun. I'm excited to see it on the big screen. I'm excited to see these two megastars sort of inhabit these characters because these characters are very naturalistic and sort of lived in, and I'm excited for the whole thing.